Yeah. Woo. Man, forget this job, dog. Yeah. Working this graveyard shift, I hate it. 6 in the morning, I'm off, I made it. When I get home, I'ma make this clear. First thing I'ma drink is a Rainier beer. I ain't no lush, shut up.
Hello, it's Adam Morrison. When it comes to top-tier contracting, my go-to choice is McGilvery Environmental. I know a thing or two about excellence, and that's exactly what you'll find with Kip McGilvery and his team. They're not just any contractor, they're the best in Spokane and North Idaho. From start to finish, they ensure your project is completed with the highest quality results. With years of experience and expertise, they handle it all. New construction, meticulous repairs, asphalt paving for residential and commercial properties, excavation, and even environmental remediation. So why wait? Reach out to Kip McGilvery Environmental today by calling 208-556-6384 for your free estimate. Don't forget to mention my name, Adam Morrison, and experience the difference McGilvery Environmental brings to the table. Again, that's 208-556-6384, McGilvery Environmental. My number one choice for all my contracting needs. The Perimeter with Adam Morrison is proudly sponsored by New Love Coffee, serving exceptional coffee while supporting Gonzaga athletics through their partnership with the Zags Collective. New Love Coffee is a specialty coffee company with 3 locations in Kennedy Yards, North Spokane, and Liberty Lake, Washington, offering crafted coffee beverages, tea, and delicious hand pies from Bean and Pie. Committed to quality, all their coffee is single origin and freshly roasted at the original Liberty Lake location. Here's the exciting part. You can now order their freshly roasted coffee online, with every purchase supporting the Zags Collective's mission to uplift Gonzaga student athletes. Try their half decaf blend, a perfect combination of medium roasted decaf and light roasted African coffee. Ideal for espresso, pour over, or cold brew at home. Coffee ships fresh every Thursday, so place your order today at newlovecoffeeandzagscollective.com. And feel your mornings while making a difference for the Zags.
The podcast intro song is Get Up by Jinx Universe. Listen to his music on Spotify and follow him on social media at I am Jinx Universe.
Yeah. Woo. Man, forget this job, dog. Yeah. Working this graveyard shift, I hate it. 6 in the morning, I'm off, I made it. When I get home, I'ma make this clear.
Welcome to the Perimeter Season 4, Episode 9, presented by McGilvery Environmental, Idaho Central Credit Union, and New Love Coffee. Interesting episode today. We're going to talk about Tale of Two Halves, Kentucky game.
Yeah.
Battle in Seattle. Forgive me if you're, people that are listening, my voice is a little bit raspy, so I'm going to get through it. So if it cracks, don't laugh at me. I have gone through puberty, but it might crack a little bit. I was at my nephew's game last night, yelling at the Rogers Pirates versus West Valley, close game. Anyway, could have been a really good win. We haven't won. I didn't know this until thinking back. We haven't won in Seattle since 2015.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of crazy.
That is.
There was a break, though. It's not every single year.
Yeah.
But there was a break. But we have lost the last 3 games there. It went UConn, obviously, last year, Kentucky, and then it was Alabama, I think, was the one where we kind of got boat raced. Remember, we played it was a weird time. It was like 11 a.m. game or something like that. But we kind of went back to Seattle and tried to get in Climate Pledge. Beautiful arena that sells out. We have a ton of fans over in Seattle, Gonzaga people that either went to school or whatever. And it sucks we can't win there, man.
That does suck, yeah.
And it's hard because you don't want to schedule like an easy one because you want to sell that thing out. It's a moneymaker. But also you like to get a win. I'm going to get into this game and kind of go through the teeth of what I think went wrong. I'm going to be a little bit critical on certain aspects or certain situations that we didn't execute it, and I think people like that. But I'm going to preface it by it's not because they lost. It's things that need to get cleaned up a little bit, and it's from just a basketball standpoint. It's not a just trying to be a hater or whatever. But you kind of have to preface everything a little bit now these days with them being amateur athletes, but they are getting NIL money, so I think you kind of open the door a little bit on being a little more harsh.
Absolutely.
I think just how the rule, kind of how it works. If you're getting paid to play, there is some level of criticism can go up if it's logical. So yeah, the first half, I thought our energy was terrific, especially to start the game. We talked about it the last episode. Very familiar with Mark Pope, his style. Was at BYU for 5-6 years or something like that. And I didn't know this. He was only 1-9 versus Fewey, which is a crazy number.
That was a crazy number.
But they always played us pretty tough. Not every single time, but for the most part, BYU was a game that you had to go win. Barely beat themselves. They always scouted us well, knew our actions, what have you. So we knew this was a team that was familiar with our style and vice versa. We were familiar with what they like to run. Obviously, a different type of athlete than he would have at BYU. Just it's Kentucky. It's different level.
Yeah.
Not that BYU is a bad program. Made the NCAA tournament last year. Blah blah blah. It's just a different type of athlete that you can get into that school. And I thought just to start the game, we were extremely focused. Defensively, we were really good around the rim. We caught a break. The Butler kid didn't play. Who was one of their leading scorers. He was out with an ankle injury. They had a loss before he played him against Clemson at Clemson. Kind of a tough game to play. So we get that kind of break, I guess, if you would call it. So we had their bench player, Kierza, started in front of them, and kind of a slow, good shooting guard, but struggled to turn the corner. So I think that obviously helped us just on schematically being able to defend better, not having to guard a really good guard. So, to start, our focus was terrific. We ran this high ball screen with EK and Nemhard almost to death, and they were in a drop kind of plug coverage. And what that means is you're big, you want your guard to get over the top and try to beat, you're the offensive guard to a spot. So your big drops and plugs the paint. So what happens is you give up the short roll. The short roll is pick and roll. Everybody know what that is, but it's kind of a newer terminology, I guess. Been around for a decade, but I mean, traditional basketball people wouldn't understand. You just hit them like at 8 to 10 feet instead of all the way to the basket. Pick and roll. Everybody's like, throw it to him for a layup. No, hit him at 8 to 10 feet where the guy is his defender that's helping on the ball screen has to slide over. Now you have the advantage of 1-2 dribble, go up and score. Think Thomas Sabonis. How good is he at that in the NBA? Yeah. Right. He gets short roll. Think of Brandon Clark, guys that played here, Rui, you know what I mean? That's what a short roll is. And Graham and Braden are really good at, but especially Ryan as a passer is terrific at it, making those 4-foot little pocket pass, bounce passes. Those are harder than people think. We were killing them on it. I mean, we ran it over and over and over, and I think we probably scored on, over half of them just on the action, right? And there were, and so I thought the start was just terrific, and I think we kind of surprised them on how efficient we were, especially Graham inside was terrific. He had 18 points in the first half. Was really rolling. Braden didn't get much time, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So it was the pace was the right way. Our inside presence was one of our advantages. If you looked at their roster, their top 4 scorers were all guards. Not that they didn't have great inside presence, but they didn't really have the size or the skill that would hurt us on the offensive end. So us going at them inside was the correct thing to do. Short roll, screening rolls, throw it in the post. I mean, we try to do that all the time, and it's like, no shit, Adam, like our post players are good, but like this was a significant advantage that we had, and it was absolutely rolling. So we go into halftime up 16, obviously feeling really good about ourselves, playing the right style. And like I said, pace of play, throwing it inside, guys, scoring the ball. Didn't shoot it well from 3 of 12, which is an issue I'll talk about again. I'll push down the road a little bit, but overall 3-point shooting, but 19 to 35, that's 54%. in the first half. We hold them to 12 of 36, 33%. They shot 5 of 17 from 3. The reason why I mentioned that is they were taking when the year started, Mark Pope went on record, said that we want to shoot 35 threes a game. They're shooting 29 threes a game at a pretty good clip. It was like 36, 37%, which is pretty good. Effective field goal, percentage. If you break that down, you're shooting a ton of threes. If you get to make 10 of them, 10 of 29, that's what, 30%.
Yeah.
You still score 30 points. Obviously. You get what I'm saying? So you're getting, anyway, you're getting a point a shot, theoretically. That's kind of what effective field goal percentage is. So my point is, we guarded the 3-point line pretty well. We were dominating inside. We had a rebound number that was terrific. We were plus like 6 or 7, if my memory serves, in the first half. And so I think everybody, even myself in the building, felt like, okay, they're going to make a run, but it's going to be a good win for us. But let's move on and kind of coast in the second half. And I got to give him credit when they came out in the second half. He made adjustments, Mark Pope. And one of the biggest ones was, if you notice, they went to a 1-3-1 early defensively. In the first probably 4 or 5 times they ran it all the way through. And it was prepped for. They did talk about it at the team meal when I watched the scout. They did mention they do run a 1-3-1. They worked on it, so it's not like we were unprepared. But what was interesting is they ran it for, like I said, 4 or 5 possessions, and then they went away from it, planned, and then they went back to it, and he did a hand signal where you could tell it was second pass, they would go to man. So it really disrupted our rhythm. So a lot of teams, if you're worth anything, and it's kind of it's not like a huge scheme thing, but it works a lot in like the youth levels. If you can get your teams to do it right, is like on the second pass, go to man, and then the shot clock winds down, and they're like, oh God, we're all of a sudden in zone offense. Now we got to hurry. And then it just disrupts your rhythm. It's not like you're going to get a bunch of turnovers, right, but usually you don't get to your third or fourth action. You're only getting to 1 or 2 actions, or it's later in the clock. You get what I'm saying? And I think it allowed them to keep whoever was on the top of the zone for them defensively. He would just switch and be the ball screen coverage guy, because Kierza in the first half, like I said, was getting murdered on the ball screen stuff. So that was a terrific adjustment from Mark Pope. I thought, though, to be fair, to talk about our adjustments, we got really good shots against that zone. And so it wasn't a coaching thing or a not schemed or planned offensively. We just missed a ton of like wide open threes. I call them Division I layups. You're never really going to get stripped layups, but they're ones where they're contested, but you kind of have to make these layup package stuff. We had, I'd like to say we missed 6 or 7 in that second half. Like there's the one, Dusty Stromer goes baseline, does the reverse, misses it, gets it back for 4 feet, misses again. Graham had a couple who ended up having a terrific game, but he had a couple where he caught, and you're like, oh, that's down, and it just spinned out. Ben Gregg had a couple. Caleb Battle had a couple. Like you just went down and you thought back. You're like, man, we missed like 6 or 7, like I said, Division I layups that you normally have to make. And so it just kind of kept spiraling slowly. And every time they made, a mini run, we just could never hit like that big shot to stop it. And then later in the game, I'm kind of skipping all over the place. I think we missed 3 front end of one-on-ones. We got in the bonus with like 10 minutes to go, which is, I've talked about it before. If people have listened to this continuously, like foul pressure is a real thing. If you want to be a good offensive team throughout the year, like putting foul pressure, that's where you rim run, you post up hard, all those things. Getting the free throw line is a skill, right? It's not just the refs, it's foul pressure. And we got to the free throw line and just missed front end one-on-ones like 3 times at least. And it just kept kind of spiraling slowly. And I kept thinking like, okay, they're going to make a run, but it's going to be maybe too much for them to overcome, and we're just going to need like a 5-0 run and get the crowd in, you know what I mean? And then let's get out of here and, be happy we had a great win and still be like, okay, we could have played better in the second half, but who cares? Good team. You know what I mean? Let's move on. But obviously that was not the case. And going into overtime, you could tell the momentum was completely on their side. They had, a huge comeback and, nothing to lose on the road, all those things. And I must say, like, the start of overtime was absolutely horrendous. Giving up 2 layups to start. The dump down with Ben Gregg, who had a great game, who had a great finish before that similar play. They met him at the rim and clean blocked it. I know people thought it was a foul. It was clean up top. I had a great angle on it. And, at the rim, like, they're going to let guys play, which they should. But he falls down, rightfully so. I mean, he just gets blocked. And nobody picks up his guy, and they literally just throw it ahead and they lay it up. And then literally the previous play, they throw it to the dead corner, and a guy just takes 2 dribbles and like dunks it. And so we start off like 30 seconds in, down 4. And it just was like bonehead mistakes. Graham had one, and he was terrific. He was 28 and 11. 9 to 16, probably one of his best games of the year. 9 to 14 free throw line. That's the one part he probably wants back, missing 5 free throws. He goes in doubles when Ajayi's covering a guy. The Carr is his name, the big tall white guy, right at the rim from Wake Forest, good player. Ajayi has him squared up, and he goes over to double at 4 feet, and then they just throw it down to, I think it was Garrison or whatever.
Yeah,
and you can see Coach Few, but it was just like a complete mental error. And we had too many of those. I mean, it was absolutely not bonehead mistakes, but like simple mistakes. Can't start an overtime down 4 with 2 layups, like just layups where they don't have to run any action. So then literally all the momentum's with them. You can't double in that spot. Like if a guy's got him squared up at the rim, and then I mentioned the layups and stuff, you got to make those. And I'm not sitting here going, I hate when people point the finger or when it's obvious, but like if we're being completely transparent, like those layups and plays have to be made at a 90% clip or whatever. You know what I mean? Guys are going to miss a layup or ball spins out. It happens.
Absolutely.
But you can't miss like 6 or 7 of them is what I'm trying to get at. And that's spread across the blames a number of guys. I thought Nembhard played one of his best games, had a terrific night. It was 13 points, had 10 assists, 6 of 12. Didn't shoot it well from 3, but added 5 rebounds as well. Only goes 1 for 5 from 3. I mentioned Graham, 28 and 11, 9 to 16, terrific game. About his only faux pas was that double team to go give up a dunk, didn't make any sense. And then the 9 to 14 from the free throw line. But other than that, he was terrific, and he really paced us inside. One of his better games, like I said.
Yeah.
Hickman was okay, 9 points, but he's only 1 for 7 from 3. I know he was frustrated last time playing in Seattle, had his whole family there. I saw him after the game. He was not a happy camper, rightfully so. So I felt bad for him because Nolan's been great. He's been great all year. He's been great for his career. I wanted him to get a win at home. And, it's different for Seattle kids to come over to Gonzaga. It's different. A lot of them get a lot of crap for coming over here. I mean, I really mean that. Like, you don't go to UW or,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, why would you go to that school? I mean, it's not as bad now, but that's how it used to be. So I think it still reverberates a little bit.
Yeah.
So when they hear that, I want them to, be able to go and win one at home and feel good and all those things. Ajayi wasn't great, 1 for 4. He's another Seattle area kid. 4 points. Just looks out of rhythm this season. I know it's a new system for him, and I got to make sure I word this correctly so it's not viewed as overly critical, but he hasn't had very many big games for us. He's only scored double figures once.
Yeah.
As Indiana. I think playing in a system like we run, zoom actions, DHOs, space the floor, like modern basketball. It's been hard for him to find a rhythm. he needs to be more active, in my opinion, on the glass and things of that nature to get himself going. Obviously, there's things that the staff could do to maybe get himself going, but he's got to be more efficient. I'm just being honest. So hopefully he can turn it around. It's not the end of the world that he hasn't, lit the world on fire, because he was great the first 2 games, scoring 9, but like against Baylor, he had 9 and 10 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be more efficient is what I'm trying to get at. And he could do that. I think his energy needs to be increased, and that's an easy fix. Because Indiana, he was all over the place, flying around. He needs to just have that kind of mentality, obviously, the rest of the season, because he's a big pickup. He's a big-time athlete. He's a great player. Obviously, he led the WCC in scoring, first team all-league. He's got to just be more efficient and be more active. I thought Ben Gregg was solid off the bench. He goes 5 for 11, gives 14.7 rebounds, 4 or 5 from the free throw line, 0 for 3 from 3, but really had a great, energy type game. Dusty Stromer was solid and hit a huge 3 in that overtime to get us within 4. We were down 7, and it was kind of like, oh God, here we go. You know what I mean? Like, and he makes that 3. And then who made the 3 after that?
Oh, after
it was Nolan, right?
Nolan, yeah.
Nolan hits a 3, so then we get down 1. So we got outplayed in overtime, but we get ourselves in a situation where we're down 1. Foul the right guy, the Carr kid, and it was interesting because obviously we had a play drawn up, and you have those situations basically like in a notebook, and then assistants need to have like 3 or 4 on the top of their head. They literally keep a notebook, and it's really smart. I bet you most programs do, but it's not like something unique, but it's interesting when you see it. Like, oh, do you remember that play from like 95 that they just have like but like you have a guy like kind of looking at the clock on, we might need one of these, and have it so like you can draw it up right there.
Right.
And he needs to be able to draw it up. It's interesting. You know what I mean? So they had one of those basically ready to go, like a full court, no timeout play. And it was funny. Huddy said it off air, but it was kind of right. Is in that spot, he misses the first. So they're up 1, they misses the first, and there's 5 seconds, let's just say, give or take. And you're almost like, you want him to make the second. So you can take it out. You could walk, take it out. It means they don't start the count, and then you can run your action. When he misses it, it all goes to hell. So it brings up a good point. Like, if you're in that spot, and this is like just me thinking out loud, do you miss the second on purpose? Because if a 3 is going to beat you anyway, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, analytically, is that the right play? And then you kind of just have there's a scramble play. And so that's my point, is that's what happened. We get the miss, and everybody's like, yeah. And it's like, actually, it might have been better if it goes in.
Absolutely.
Because we still probably launch a 3, and if we hit a 3, we win. Doesn't matter. So anyway, Stromer gets the rebound. And again, I don't want to sound too critical. He's played way better than he was last year. He's been terrific defensively, way better, shooting the ball better. You have to get a shot off in that spot. You can't cross back over to the middle of the floor. Me as a right-handed player, which most guys are, he is obviously, you got to go up the sideline or to your right, and then you shoot like a running floater, and you get a high and soft off the glass. They don't want to foul you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just don't see the value of crossing back over and going against your momentum in that spot. And that's a learning thing for him, and he'll, next time. But that was another one of the mistakes where we got to get a shot up in that spot.
We have
That's what I'm saying. So tough pill to swallow. It's got to feel good for Kentucky, obviously, and like that fan base, because they probably were thinking like, with the previous regime, and Cal's great, but we probably don't win that game. You know what I mean? Like, this shows toughness and all culture and all that stuff. So it was a tough one to kind of watch the lead evaporate, and then just make simple mistakes that are fixable. But if you look back, you're going to really go, man, That one stings. Could have won that game. It felt like the Washington game last year, where you're like, man, we just, there's so many plays that were so simple, or front end of 101s, and like I said, Division I layups. Like, I hate being the guy that's critical, but sometimes you have to be. And there was a lot of plays that we just did not make. So hats off to them, but it's going to be an interesting loss when you look back on the season, how much that maybe affects us. 4 seed, 3 seed, 2 seed, 1 seed, whatever, if that moves us off a line because we don't have those type of wins. Obviously it matters what they do the rest of the season. Who knows how good they're going to be. They're great, but you know what I mean? But you're playing in the SEC, it's hard conference, blah, blah, blah. You could go 9-9 really easy and still have a good year.
Totally.
But it obviously would have been a nice resume builder for us,
What do you have to say about the 3-point shooting? It was just...
Yeah, good point. We're not in a good spot right now shooting the 3. We were 6 of 27, 0 for 9 in regulation in that Kentucky game. Sorry, I'm looking through these numbers.
No.
3 of 6 in overtime, so we bail ourselves out, but
right.
Obviously 0 for 9 in regulation, not good. Had good shots. There was just a lid on the basket at that end for some reason, but we didn't shoot it well last year against UConn in that building. Alabama, if my memory serves, that was a boat race. I don't think we shot it well either.
Yeah.
But it just shows you, like, sometimes these NBA arenas or whatever. I know that it's for hockey, but I think the Storm, the girls team plays there, right?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a basketball arena too.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's different.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. Like it'll be funny to watch, see who we schedule in that battle in Seattle next year.
Right.
Because it's a great game. I love going to it. It's a great venue. We have a shit ton of fans over there. But we haven't won there in a long time. 2015 was the last time we won in Seattle.
And we lost in Seattle twice last year.
Yeah.
It's like Seattle's kind of our
it's not
Achilles right now.
It's not good. It'll be interesting to see how our guys respond. The worst part about it is we have 9 days in between, after they lose until we play UConn on Saturday. But that's the worst, is when you got to sit there and stew over it and watch film and all those things.
I was going to ask about that. Like, I should have went back and looked at, but like these long layoffs are not typical.
Yeah,
they usually schedule at least like one midweek game in between this stuff, just like it's someone that's an easy matchup.
I think sometimes it has to do with Bahamas, playing 3 in a row, so maybe there's rest was a factor.
Mm-hmm.
It matters too what the girls are doing, hoop wise. You know what I mean? Gym space, that's a real thing, obviously. And then sometimes teams maybe just don't want to come out at certain times, so you have these lapses. That's a very good point. Like, this is a long lapse between games.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue good or bad. I mean, it's now if we won, we're like, oh yes, we get rest now. You know what I'm saying? So it's easy to go both ways.
Yeah,
but 9 days, regardless, is a long time, and we'll see how they respond. But we're going to be playing a road game in Madison Square Garden. I don't care what anybody says.
The Perimeter will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Sound good? Thank you. Yes.
How they respond, but we're going to be playing a road game in Madison Square Garden. I don't care what anybody says. That's I hope our guys are ready for it, because UConn, it travels well. They're pretty hungry this season. I've had a weird start to the year. It's the team that won 2 championships in a row, but it's not the same team.
right.
Is what people need to understand. And again, it's the old transfer portal, blah, blah, blah deal that everybody knows. And that rant's tired anyway. So I'm not even going to talk about it. But in fairness to Dan Hurley, like he has kind of reteaching a new squad how to play defense and their standard and all that stuff. But they had a weird Maui Invitational.
Yeah.
I mean, they go as the number 2 team in the country. They lose to Memphis, who's a good program, but somebody that you would, you historically would say like a UConn team would take them out of their rhythm and kind of just lean on them and eventually win by 10 or something like that. So good job by Penny Hardaway. They got a win in overtime, and then they lose to Colorado by 1 late. Good job, Bill Greer.
Yeah.
Former Zags assistant coach there now. That's a huge win for Colorado. And then they get boat raced in the 5th place game or whatever it was by Dayton, who is a good program, but they got boat raced by like 18.
Yeah.
Excuse me, lose obviously 3 in a row. So they come out of that tournament 4-3. They were number 2 in the country, and they go to number 2. It was 25. It was like one of the biggest drops ever.
Yeah.
But I've done a good job since. I've got a win at Baylor, or against Baylor, excuse me, by 4, and then a win at Texas by 11. So what's their current rank? Do you have that up there?
Yeah, I'm grabbing it right now.
So, obviously a top 25 team, probably top 15 team.
Yeah, they are currently 18 in the AP and then 20 in the coaches.
Okay, so it's going to be a top 25 matchup.
Yeah,
maybe not as big as a top 5 that I think everybody would assume that was going to happen, but this is going to be a really tough game. They aren't as good defensively as they have been in the past, and it's given us a problem. If people remember when we played them last year in Seattle, they denied all of our actions out to like 30 feet. And we were running like DHOs and our ball screens at like 30 and 28 feet. Like we couldn't do shit. Like it was bad. And they just completely like throttled us defensively. In that game, I mean, they had an all-time talent defensively. They had Klingon inside, and then they had, strong wings that could guard and then funnel everything to a 7-2 guy that just got drafted, lottery pick. So it's not like our guys were soft. It just was like a bad matchup. So I'll be curious to see what they look like defensively compared to last year. Our inside guys are going to have to play better than they did last year. Braden Huff has been terrific this year. Didn't play much last game, but we just talked about Graham Ike gets 28-11. He's got to have like a big time game. And we got to have a true road mentality. I know it's a neutral, but it's going to be loud in there, and they're hungry now. You know what I mean? And he's probably got those guys like really focused because they had, an awkward Maui, but now they're ready to go. So I'm curious to see how they defend us. Their splits they're shooting 50% from the field. Not a surprise there. Almost 37 from 3, which is solid on some volume. 76 from the line. They out rebound you by 9, averaging 84 points a game. We're in the 90s, so very similar stats. 50%, 35 plus on the 3, plus 8 on the glass. You know what I mean? Like, so similar stats, which that's what all the good teams do. And these are not skewed by playing bad teams. So it's going to be a fun matchup. I think it's a better matchup this year than last year, just because they've lost some really good players.
Right.
But we have some familiarity, like Aiden Mahaney's there now. Everybody's favorite kid from St. Mary's last year. Everybody's favorite. Not having a terrific year. If I'm looking at his stats, he's only playing 15 minutes a game, shooting 34%, and then 34 from 3. So I wonder if he's missing friendly confines of St. Mary's, who's like 8-1 this year and good team.
Yeah, I wonder. Like, it looks like he may have been starting at the beginning of the season.
He was, yeah.
And then
I think he got benched. If I I think after that Memphis game, I didn't see him start. I think, or one of the Maui games. And it's probably hard to get out of that guy's doghouse.
Yeah,
Dan Hurley. I mean, he has an expectation of defensively that you have to adhere to, and so we know his game, but they got good players and they're always just tough, and it's going to be curious because if you really think about it, this game and then the UCLA game are kind of the last couple to really get a marquee win besides St. Mary's. It's always a good win if you can beat them.
Totally.
So this is a bigger game than I think would be expected if we got the Kentucky win. Just for Ken Palm, RPIs, all that stuff later down the road, or tournament resume is what I'm trying to get at. So Saturday's going to be a fun one in New York City, and it's cool to go out there. It's a pain in the ass, to be honest, to fly all the way out there, but it is what it is.
Is it a must win? Like,
I don't like that term, but it feels not must win to like get in,
right?
Because it's not like last year where I remember at one point we were 15-5 and people were kind of like, I don't know, and then we beat Kentucky at Kentucky, and then it was like, okay, I think if we get to the WCC championship, we're like in. And it was true.
Yeah.
I don't think we're there yet because we are going to have, I think Arizona State's going to be a quality win. Baylor's going to be a quality win. I hope Indiana is, but I don't think they're very good.
Yeah.
Just being honest. West Virginia, I think, can be a quality win. And then Davidson is not going to like shoot out on you, but like they are always a team that can win their league. So it's like, oh, tournament type win, you know what I mean?
Totally, yeah.
Top 100 win or whatever, top 80 win. So it's not like a must win, but it would look really good if we had beat UConn, right? Because they're going to make the NCAA tournament and probably win their league or whatever. So yeah, it's a fair question to ask. I don't like the term. I don't think we're there yet because it's too early, but it'd be really nice if we had it. So I'm kind of floating the answer, kind of going on both sides of it. I think if we can continue to get good guard play and obviously our inside presence, we have a great shot to beat this team. Nemhard's been terrific. Another double assists. We need better 3-point shooting. Stromer's been about the only one that's been truly consistent. Caleb Battle a little bit. He played okay. What did he have in that game? It was like 13 or something like that. He played solid. Let's look. Caleb 5 of 9, 13 points, 1 for 5 for 3. Makes his first one, so then he goes 0 for 4 from the next next 4. So yeah, I mean, shooting the basketball is obviously paramount to making teams defend you a certain way inside, especially when they're double teams and all that stuff. So if we can't knock down the three, it's gonna make it more difficult for Braden Huff and Graham Ike to get single coverage. So it is. I don't think it's an issue now, but it's something to look at. Well, no, how do I put this? It's not freak out time, but it's also like, man, we got to start making some jump shots, fellas. You know what I mean? You got to start knocking these things down. We're getting pretty good looks. Our actions are fine, blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of the reality of it. It's not trying to be overly critical or a hater, but it's like fucking wide open, man. You got to make some of these.
Definitely.
And it showed in that second half, 0 for 9. I mean, we go 3 of 6, like we mentioned in overtime, but 0 for 9 in regulation is a big goose egg, and that's a big difference why they had a chance to keep coming back. If we make some of those threes, it kind of breaks the back of a momentum, like dang it, we just got the 5 little 6-0 run, man, then he just made 2 threes. Fuck. You know what I mean? That's how you kind of get past that. So
I was going to ask about Braden Huff in the Kentucky game, having only playing 10 minutes. Is there? Did you see something that?
No, I think it was just Graham was rolling.
Yeah.
There you go. Because he had 18 and 10 in the first half or something like that, or whatever, 18 and 8 or something. But he had 18 points and was really solid and scoring on the short roll. So it's like Braden's that's flipped a couple times this year already.
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of who's playing well. That's a hard way to do it. I just keep thinking maybe there's a way. I don't know. Maybe I'm full of shit, but maybe you can play them both at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I think, well, I don't know how you do it. You could do it maybe defensively. I don't know, man. Because I think Braden can move his feet enough, but then also like I can just hear Fewy be like, "Oh, the dumbest shit you've ever thought of." Because he would be right. He'd be like, you just bring in 4 guards and come guard her.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But also it's like they're so skilled, especially Braden's more skilled than Graham. Doesn't mean Graham's not as good, but Braden has better touch.
Yeah.
I'm saying like pick and pop threes to be able to run your offense.
Mm-hmm.
Graham's stronger, can score inside, but you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but like Braden can function on a pick and pop situation, hit a 15-footer more consistent than Graham.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you could play them both.
Yeah.
But
But Braden can't guard a guard.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the problem,
Yeah.
is where you'd run into that. But could he survive for like, you could do it for like 3 or 4 minutes? I think so.
Yeah.
But it's also the counters like, why would you put yourself in that peril? Because Ben's been terrific. Ajayi's had some moments, but we talked about it earlier. If he plays better, he's like, why would you take him off the floor defensively? And it's true.
Yeah.
But I know it's shitty, man. You look at he's had such a great season. I don't know his splits. We don't have him right in front of us, but he plays under 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
and he played in 15 minutes in the game previous. That was against Davidson, and it was again the situation where Graham's
rolling.
Yeah.
I know it's hard, man. So you kind of have to go in and produce. And it's weird because this is not the case, but I know at the next level, guys think like this, and it's true, but it's not. You don't want to say it out loud, but like if you're in that spot, like not at a university, but you're playing like pros, you're hoping the guy in front of you plays like shit so you can get in the game. Because
Right.
it's true.
Yeah.
Like, and especially if you're trying to get paid, you know, like contract year, like darn, he missed again. You know what I mean? Like now it's like, I guarantee Braden, they're not thinking like that, but it is sucks when you're sitting there like, shoot, man, I'm having a really good season, and the guy in front of me is really good too. It's just nothing you can do. It's just a numbers thing. So he'll stick with it. Braden's terrific. Graham's terrific. Graham's had a couple where he's played like 14 minutes. So
That's true.
it goes both ways.
It does.
But it is odd to look at the deal and you're like, wait, this, you know, it could work for both of them.
Yeah.
This guy just had 18 and 12, and then he plays 7 minutes.
I think the biggest complaint I've seen from listeners and just Zags fans in general is just, especially when you look at a loss, you're like, well, Braden Huff didn't play, and like, and that's obviously he's the substitute for Graham. So
now that is a fair assessment, but also our inside game wasn't the reason we lost.
Right.
It was because we couldn't throw a rock in the ocean.
Yeah.
And then we just made like 6 dumbass plays on defensively, you know, and all the stuff we talked about, like just kind of stupid plays. So yeah, I mean, this is a team that's going to be hungry in UConn, but we should feel the same way.
Yeah.
I think our guys are going to bounce back in a good fashion. It was a tough loss, but again, it's not March.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. You didn't lose to like a bad, like when I said I feel like Washington, I was talking about the play. Washington sucked more because they weren't very good last year. Like, this is a Kentucky team that's at least good.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no disrespect to Husky fans, but they got a new staff and stuff, so I can talk about the old staff. So yeah, I think we'll have to bounce back and make amends with some of the mistakes that we're doing and fix them. But some of them is just simply making a shot and, you know, not having brain farts defensively.
Right.
And we win the game. And then are we sitting here going, holy shit, we're really good this year. So like there's silver linings a little bit to it. It's like, hey man, we're not as good as you guys think. Not in a bad way, but like human nature. Okay, we got to clean this stuff up. So I always try to look at it in that fashion. And then also, like, I know these guys know it. Like, I guarantee, like, Dusty Stromer's like, why did I cross over going middle? You know, Ajayi, like, how come I'm not playing with more energy? You know what I mean? Like, these guys know too.
Yeah.
They're good players, great kids, honestly, good teammates, good vibe. Like, we're going to be fine. But that one one sucked, you know. And like I said, it's weird being in Seattle that we can't find. So I'm always curious, like next year's opponent, Morehead State. You know what I mean? Like, who are we going to play next year? Like, in this deal. So
that actually leads to a great listener question.
The Perimeter will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Who are we going to play next year? Like, in this deal. So
that actually leads to a great listener question about team chemistry. And David asks, is the Gonzaga team chemistry the same, better, or worse since the opening of the transfer portal?
You mean like this year?
Or has do you think
like culture?
Like has it changed? Like has team chemistry changed?
Like this year or in general since the portal started?
In general since the portal started.
I think the chemistry's never been a real issue. I don't see how anybody would think otherwise.
Yeah.
Part of the reason we get the players that we do is culture.
Yeah.
And I mean that, and it's not just me because I went there. If you look at a Jalen Suggs, you know, all these pro guys that we've had, some of these guys could have gone to bigger programs. I know we are, but like we don't have a football team. You know what I'm saying? Like bigger universities.
Yeah.
They come here because it's good hoops, like the style, and it's like all about hoops. The culture is good.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that's the case, but I definitely think chemistry has to evolve a little bit more year to year because there's new faces, and you have to make sure that the new players coming in understand what the expectations are chemistry wise as a you know, Zag or whatever. And it's a real thing. It's not lip service to say, you know, some places are front runner type programs, and it's not being nose in the air. But if you look at some of the programs that we play, you can tell those guys are not connected at all.
Right.
Zero.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I know I brought this up and I hope I don't get flack for it, but like just watch Indiana this year. The game before that, you know, in Atlantis, that's a team that's not connected at all. I know it's early in the season, but those are like 4 transfer, you know, guys that need the ball, who got NIL money, and you're like, oh God, this team does not want to play real hoops together.
Yeah.
So it's a real thing. It happens. So to like really bring in the question or answer the question, I don't think it has, but it's a great point to look for. But honestly, you know, like Chet Holmgren comes to Gonzaga because of the culture.
Yeah.
He could have gone he literally could have gone anywhere and got, I think it was the start of the NIL, but like he could have gone to a bigger brand or whatever.
Yeah.
He came because Jalen Suggs was his high school teammate, went the year before. He knew the culture was great, and he knew he was going to play NBA style basketball, and the money was coming on the backside.
Yeah.
Man, look at him now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Look at Domas Sabonis, same thing.
Yeah.
Domas had the pedigree, kind of a little bit of a hidden gem, but like some big name program would have taken him. Not that we aren't, but you know what I'm trying to say? He comes here because Tommy Lloyd, culture, he loved the guys when he went on his visit, like, and loves, like, he didn't care about anything else.
Yeah.
He didn't care about football. He didn't care about girls. I want to play hoop. I want to go to a place that just plays hoops. So it's a real thing. We have that here, and that's why we still continue to get good transfer portal guys. Because, again, we're never going to win the NIL battle. Right. Now, are we in the same neighborhood? Absolutely. But we're never going to, like, outspending everybody. But are we, like, broke? No. But we're in the middle of the pack, probably slightly over middle of the pack, to be honest. But we're never like the kid that just signed it from that BYU.
Yeah.
He probably signed for $2 million or something. Like, we're never going to give somebody that.
No.
We're going to come here and go, hey, you want to make it to the league or give yourself a really good shot? Like, our style is NBA basketball, you know, similar. You want to make it? Yeah. Okay. This is your, that's a better business decision than chasing quick money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a farce. It's true. Like look at Andrew Nemhard.
Yeah.
He transfers from Florida, comes in, and if you look at his numbers his junior year, like they were solid, but it didn't like jump out at you. Even senior year, like really solid, but NBA teams loved him, and they're like, "Oh, he can play. He can be. That's a backup point guard right now. He's probably a starter.
Yeah,
good, but like because I can see that he's playing NBA style basketball right now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But Andrew could have gone somewhere different and been like the man and got all the shots. He went to play real hoops. Same with Jalen. Jalen averaged 14 his freshman year or his only year here.
Yeah,
good, but he could have gone to like whoever and shot it 22 times a night and got to 20 a game. Didn't care. Wanted to play in the real system, show that he can play real basketball, and he just signed for $180 million or whatever. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? So I know that's a super long-winded answer, but the chemistry and culture thing is a real thing, and that's why we stay in the hunt with big-time players.
Yeah,
because if you want to make it on the backside, this is a great opportunity too. I mean, look at all of our Rui, BC, like all these guys that are kind of like Killian Tilly's and another one of those that were not huge recruits, but like, hey man, in this system, they can play. Corey Kispert, right? These aren't guys that were like McDonald's All-American 5 stars, but also those type of guys will come here because they go, well, look at how good the culture is. Look how good the style is,
right?
Chemistry. So yeah, transfer portal does change all of that, but I don't think we don't have any chemistry issues this year. And I don't even see anything that would hint at it. Yeah. To be honest.
I mean, whenever I look down at the bench, I mean, you don't see the bench too much on TV, but like they always seem like they're behind each other. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah. It's a standard at Gonzaga. Like you better cheer for your teammates and it better not be fake. You can be pissed off about not playing. That's human nature. Like it's never like, cause I think sometimes people overdo it too. It's like, well, that guy's a bad attitude. It's like, yeah, sometimes people are allowed to have a little bit of bad body language. Human, right? Yeah. It doesn't. Now, if you're doing it constantly and sulking, yes. But like, if you check out of a game, it's all right if you roll your eyes and then jog. You know what I mean? Like, I've never understood why some programs like rip kids. It's like, dude, maybe he's balling and he just took him out. He's gonna be pissed off a little bit. But then when you get to the bench, fake it and then sit out. You know what I mean? Like that's what I try to tell my players and my daughter. I'm like, fake it, but like it's all right if you're a little pissed off. I get it.
Yeah.
So anyway.
One final question. Since the Gonzaga is playing at the Madison Square Garden this weekend, like what is your most memorable experience playing there?
That was the first game I started my freshman year. I think I had 10 points or something, 12 points, but we played St. Joe's. And that's when they had Delonte West, Jameer Nelson, Pat Carroll was good. And that's the team that made it to the championship game undefeated. I think lost in the championship game or in the Final Four. I think really good team. Yeah. But anyway, we played them my freshman year, and I can't remember. Somebody got hurt, or we didn't have like the lineup set, and so like I found out I was starting the night before, and we were practicing in like NYU or just one of these random colleges in New York, just a weird like community college gym. And I vividly remember, I can remember the feeling. He was like, Adam, you're starting tomorrow. And I remember I turned as red as this cup and cause I didn't know all the actions and plays. And we used to run a lot more sets. It wasn't actions. And I was like, oh fuck, man, I don't know like half the shit. I didn't know, like I was kind of faking my way through it. And so we had to dry run where it's like 5-on-0, all the actions and stuff. And I've never been more nervous not to like fuck up an action in my entire life. Got through it, obviously. Played solid. Like I said, I had like 10. We got, I think it blown out, but we were not expecting that type of raucous atmosphere. Yeah. And it was like I said, it was a road game, even though it wasn't their home. They're from Philly, obviously St. Joe's. It was loud as hell in Madison Square.
Yeah.
it's a cool place to play. I had a good my rookie year. I had a game in there. I think I had like 13 or 15. Played well. It's just a different atmosphere now. Like when they always say like it's the mecca of basketball, I'm like, I think that was like in the 70s. I think you're referring to like Rucker Park, right? But if you just look at the all-time, performances in there, and Jordans, the Kobe's, you know what I mean, LeBron, obviously, everybody has like I think Steph had one. Every like all-time great has to have like a New York game, right? You know what I mean? And you kind of feel bad for the Knicks because it's like they get picked on for that. Like
definitely, yeah.
I think Kobe had like 60 in there, and like I think I wasn't on I think it was the year before I got there, but guys were like, yeah, he was telling people like, I'm gonna have fucking 60 tonight. Like I need to have one of these games in this building. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool if you've never been to it. It's right. It's weird that you're just walking around New York and you're like, oh, it's right there. Yeah. There's no like parking or obviously, but it's just right there.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, cool. And then it's kind of dumpy. And I mean that in a nice way. It's their dump. Again, in a nice way. Yeah. But it's just kind of like old and you know what I mean? But it's so much history. And obviously they like everything's amenity wise, but like you get into the back part and you're like, this is really fucking old, man. Like the locker rooms are shitty, but it's cool looking. They have all the pictures of like who's performed there and all that. Everybody. And then like, I think there's the Billy Joel banner that's like 40 sold out shows or whatever. And then they have the Springsteen one. I think there might be a Taylor Swift one. I think there was a Taylor Swift one somewhere. But anyway, yeah, it's a cool place to play. It's a cool experience for our guys, and we've had some success there. We got beat my group, but then the year after I left, they beat North Carolina there. I think it was with Josh Heifelt, that crew, and that was a big win and kind of get over that New York deal. Yeah, I don't know when else have we played there. We played there. Shoot, I called a game there. Who did we play? Villanova, wasn't it?
I'm unsure. I was trying to find out.
It was
all the
Nova.
games.
Yeah, it was Nova because I remember I did a Barstool podcast. I was on PMT one of the times, and it was funny. I showed up in a suit because I had to call a game later, and I felt weird, but I was like trying to tell him like, I'm not showing up as I'm not just showing up in a suit randomly. Like I got to work after this, but I know there's like 4 hours before the game, but I don't want to go all the way to my hotel. You know what I mean? Like so one of those timing things. Yeah. So I show up to Barstool wearing a full suit and was like, hey, yeah, it was interesting. They were like, what are you doing wearing a suit? I was like, I'm wearing, oh, okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or you just feel overdressed or whatever. But yeah.
No, that's
I think it's Villanova
I think it is too. Yeah,
Villanova.
That sounds correct. But
and I can't remember if we won that game or not. So yeah, last time Gonzaga played New York City.
Oh yeah, it was.
Was it Nova?
It was Nova 2017. We lost. Yeah, 72-88.
Yep, we got boat raced.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. Mikal Bridges was on that Nova team.
Who was on our team? What crew was that?
That was Zach Norvell Jr., Josh Perkins, Killian Tilly.
Yeah. Was that the team that
Rui
Texas
was
Tech
on
game?
What's that?
Was that the Texas Tech game team? I wonder. The Elite Eight team. Anyway, doesn't matter.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that year. Interesting.
Yeah.
So hopefully when I get back on this deal, I'm talking about a good UConn win, a good road trip. I think our guys will bounce back. It's simple stuff we could fix. It's not the end of the world. We're 7-2. It's a good team we lost to, but again, I think some of my criticisms are fairly logical and reasonable. Without pointing the finger too much. Some of it's like, at this level and at this place, you got to make these type of plays to win games. And if we do that, we're 8-1, and we're talking about how great we are. So yeah, sports, man. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way, but
absolutely.
Hopefully down the road we can get a win in Seattle for the fans and stuff. Appreciate everybody listening. Thank you to our sponsors, McGillivray Environmental, Idaho Central Credit Union, New Love Coffee. Join us next week.
Working is this graveyard shift, I hate it. 6 in the morning, I'm off, I made it. When I get home, I'ma make this clear. First thing I'ma drink is a Rainier beer. I ain't no lush, shut up, hush. This is how I zone out. I'ma take this check, put it on me. I'm a much better boss than an employee. Just cause you got time, don't waste time. It's about time, feel the sunshine. You got time, but don't waste time. It's go time. Get up, get down. The time's right now, now. Turn up, turn down. I don't even know how. Yes, sir, I'm on 100 now. Mess around and find out. Get up. An employee. I'm an employee because I go OD on a BEAT. I'm a
Podcast intro song is Get Up by Jinx Universe. Listen to his music on Spotify and follow him on social media at I am Jinx Universe. Produced locally in Spokane, Washington at Spocast.